Donald Trump is being dragged online for completely botching his first major natural disaster since returning to office. During this 4th of July weekend, instead of helping Americans in need, Donald Trump was celebrating and ignoring the very people he vowed to protect. So stick around until the end to see what Trump had to say about this disaster, and let's hop right into it. So as you may have heard, while everyone was celebrating the 4th of July this weekend, Texas began dealing with a major disaster. A massive set of flash floods in south central Texas slammed into several towns and even washed over a popular campground. And some of this footage that we're getting out of Texas is truly horrifying. Just take a look at this. Now, the flooding itself isn't really the big issue. It's the complete lack of control that the Trump administration has over the situation. For starters, people have been warning for months that Trump's major cuts to the National Weather Service would make natural disasters much worse. Just check out this video from back in May predicting exactly what would happen.
Days out from what's forecast to be an above-normal hurricane season, scientists across the country are sounding the alarm over critical staffing shortages. Inside the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, officials are scrambling to fill more than 150 critical National Weather Service roles, left vacant after sweeping cuts from the Trump administration. Overall, the service has lost 600 of its 4,000 employees since January. 5 former NWS directors calling it their worst nightmare in an open letter earlier this month, predicting understaffing could lead to needless loss of life.
As state and federal officials began responding to this disaster, Donald Trump's DOGE cuts were shot into the spotlight. According to CNN on Saturday, several state officials are blaming the National Weather Service for not having enough employees to give adequate warnings. But what's crazy is that the Trump-led National Weather Services is firing back at Texas state officials. Because in the same CNN article, a representative of the National Weather Service Union said that the Weather Service had adequate staffing and resources and did its job correctly. But the problem is, multiple sources cite that the Weather Service predicted around 3 to 8 inches of rain this weekend, but in reality, Texas actually got around 15 inches of rain. So I don't know about you, but it sounds like they were pretty far off of their predictions. But it's not just the Trump administration dropping the ball here. Republicans at every level of government seem totally unprepared for literally anything. Just today, the lieutenant governor of Texas claimed that the flooding was too severe to do anything ahead of time. But he also said that it was mostly local Texans sending out flood warnings. Like, seriously? According to him, there's no real warning system for people who aren't already plugged into local citizen-run networks. Out-of-state visitors got nothing, no alerts, no heads up, no warning about flash floods at all.
A pinpoint, if you put a pin on the map of the worst place that the heaviest rains could fall, was right where they fell in that whole area. And a vulnerable group of children in the camps and people on the banks. There were alert warnings that went out, we believe, by the locals. But if you were a resident and you signed up for it, you got it. But if you happen to be a stranger who just came in for the 4th of July weekend, you might not have had that. So this happened in the middle of the night, in the middle of the darkness, in the worst spot in a big area. And we still have heavy rains today, and we lost others. We're now up to 59. We expect that to go higher, sadly, but we lost others in and around the area. We lost a fire chief yesterday, several miles away from flooding in that area.
And keep in mind, this is during the 4th of July weekend. There's going to be a ton of people traveling in and out of the state. That is unacceptable. This really just makes no sense to me. Why isn't the state government handling disaster alerts? What was the lieutenant governor doing all this weekend besides obviously dodging responsibility? But the worst response of all has been trying to get disaster relief sent directly to the state. Because if you haven't heard, it took Trump until today, Sunday, to actually step in himself. That's right, for 2 whole days, federal disaster relief was delayed while Americans died. Governor Greg Abbott requested Trump's help all the way back on Friday. and of course, having a giant press conference about it as well. Instead of jumping in to save American lives or help rescue people from rising floodwaters, Trump held a signing ceremony for his big beautiful spending bill. He proudly signed legislation that cut millions of Americans off their health insurance and then watched some fireworks and went to bed. He could have sent aid to Texas at any time. He just simply did not care enough. It wasn't until the middle of the day on Sunday that he decided to help the people of Texas. And of course, he had to jump on Truth Social to brag about how great he is for sending aid, even if it was days late. Now you can pause to read this whole thing if you'd like, but you can imagine the insulting nature of his words already. My favorite part is where he says that he's going to make sure that first responders immediately have the resources they need. But Trump's help was not immediate at all, and the faulty forecasts by the National Weather Service made it painfully clear that first responders are still not getting the resources that they need from him. The death toll in Texas is now over 70. An unimaginable tragedy that could have been drastically reduced or even avoided entirely, if we just had a functioning federal government. And keep in mind, this is all happening in a Republican-led state. Just imagine how much worse it would have been in a blue state. Trump would probably ignore the suffering altogether out of pure spite. And if you're as angry as I am, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because things are only getting more dangerous in Trump's America.